Hey guys, Blue here, and I'm going to show you guys our slightly updated deck for Zane, his Cyberdark deck, or Hellkaiser deck in the Japanese version. He used from Season 2 into Season 3. So, his deck changed from the Cyber Dragons to including the Cyberdark Dragons. You know, his whole kind of quest to redeem himself, he ended up taking this darker version of the Cyber Dragons, putting it into his deck, combining it. And this is the deck he uses from more or less the second half of Season 2 and then into Season 3. So even though generally we do build decks by season, with some of the GX characters, we felt there was more of an impression of they'd have a deck type, and we kind of saw it switching more. Like with Jaden, when he lost his, he couldn't see his hero, so he switched to Neo. So we saw a lot more of decks changing mid-season. So we see the character with his previous deck, and then he had to change it. So we're ruling it as, you know, the same deck, just kind of started in Season 2, ended in Season 3. So it's listed as our Society of Light Zane deck. That whole kind of bit aside, it's got a lot of cards from the 2 seasons we saw him play. Definitely a couple games, especially in Dimension World, his duel with Jesse, where his story kind of culminated too. So I'm going to go through the cards from the deck, retouch on some of the erratas that we've done, as well as the newest additions since the last video. So again, a lot of the stuff still come with his original 7 stars deck, but again, also a nice blend of new cards. So we have Armored Cyburn is the only Union monster in his deck. We have 2 of each Cyberdark, so 2 Edge, 2 Horn, 2 Heal. I'm putting them all together like that because they have a very similar effect as a whole, but there's one specific effect that they each have, which is what we errated. The printed TCG versions, and thus the OCG versions, do state that they can only pull a level 3 dragon type monster from the graveyard. We changed that to include 4 or lower rather than 3 or lower, because he had some dragons in his deck, as well as what we have in this deck, that could not be used otherwise by this effect. So it was one slight change from the anime to the actual card game. It may have been some kind of balancing, and a lot of times I feel Konami's made balancing moves for archetypes that really were not terrible threats to the meta, and especially now with all the new decks out there, I don't think even if they changed these to the anime effect, these would really make a huge comeback. So anyway, so they all have the exact same errata, and it's listed as such in our errata document, which is of course linked in this description, that says that the effect that lets them take back dragons from the grave is changed to 4 stars or lower instead of 3 stars or lower. That's all it is. It's a really clean change. The rest of the effects and everything is still in place. We just want to make that one tiny tweak. Next up is a throwback to his first one, is Cyber Barrier Dragon. Obviously, the 3 Cyber Dragons, the core of his, you know, entire strategy since the beginning. Cyber Laser Dragon, Cyber Ouroboros, Cyber Phoenix, always handy. And something quickly I want to throw out there, we have a variety of printings of the cards. The newer printings say that the card can be face down, and you get the draw card effect. The original printing said face up. So there's no reason to put any kind of errata on this card because Konami tweaked it to make it better. If anything, this is a PSA. You know, check your printings, because we try to keep up to date with a lot of stuff, but there's also so many cards that every once in a while something falls through. So the card has a little bit more potential now via its tweak. 1 copy of Cyber Valley. 2 Explorer Dragon. So again, some of the last monsters in this deck are now the dragon monsters, which the Cyberdarks fed off of. So Explorer Dragon is level 3, so it would meet the original printing requirements. And then Infernal Dragon, which being a level 4, again, would be unusable with the Cyberdark Dragons, which is why we made that change. So Zane could grab both of his dragons, which each are 2 copies, again, all of which is to help his consistency. We wanted to make sure that his new Cyberdark Dragon archetype, as well as the dragon element for it, had a good presence in the deck. So that's why there's 2 copies of all those new cards that are the Cyberdark Dragons and the Dragons. There's 1 copy of old cards or new cards that we may have seen less use out of. And the last monster is 2 copies of Pro Cyber Dragon. Again, this is here to also help make the Cyber Dragon fusions a little bit more consistent. Because Zane's deck, like many GX decks, had a huge emphasis on fusions. And although they had strong monsters, their end goal was a fusion. So helping him have that consistency for fusions is what really helps his deck, have a good edge. So going through the spells, Cybernetic Fusion support, which is incredibly helpful with a lot of his fusions. Cybernetic Zone just kind of supports them a bit, doesn't really help you make them. Diffusion, which again in a lot of these GX decks being so fusion based, diffusion is actually helpful not just on your own monsters to summon them back to the field and maybe attack more times in the battle phase. It's also a great counter to your opponent's fusions, because remember, something very key in the card text is that if you activate diffusion, your monster returns from the graveyard. So if you use it on an opponent's monster, they don't get the pieces back. That is how our diffusion works, and we have not felt the need to change it. So always keep that in mind. In GX especially, is a very good defensive card. Different Dimension Capsule. Dimension Explosion. That was a card we actually kind of missed in the last one. We had the card printed at the time. It was a bit of an oversight. So Dimension Explosion is now in the deck. Graceful Charity. So some draw power. Flash Fusion. Again, this deck has definitely several ways to make fusions, because that was Zane's whole strategy. Or the most part of it. Future Fusion. Megamorph. So, again, a little standouty. It's an equip spell. It's a little situational. You don't want to have it if you're winning. But overall, his deck works really well to either create fusions or support fusions, or recycle some cards. Overload Fusion. Photon Generator Unit being the spell card for Cyber Laser Dragon. Polymerization, the classic polymerization. Pot of Greed, because you can never have enough draw cards. Power Bond. So his last spell card is arguably one of the more powerful ones he has, because it makes beastly fusions even more beastly. Next up is the trap cards, and then after that will be the fusions. So trap cards are very short, and that's where, of course, the newest card is. So attack reflector unit corresponds to Cyber Barrier Dragon, Call of the Haunted. Cybernetic Hidden Technology, depending where you are in the game, could have a very high cost, but could very well pay off. Fusion Guard. And his last card, the new card we had gotten recently, is Powerwall. So I'm going to quickly talk about this because it is different from the anime. I mean, I think at this point, just about every card we've gotten lately from Konami is slightly different from the anime. Some cards have their effects to be more moderate. Some have them better translated to the TCG or OCG versus the anime, where anything can happen. And some just had extra effects added to them to make them more potent in competitive play. So the biggest change to the card is not so much the life point damage increments, although that is kind of a thing as well. That is also, it determines how many cards you send. But what we consider the bigger change is that in the anime, the player could choose the cards that were sent. Ours, true to so many cards, especially ones that have seen a lot of competitive play, is they just send cards, they mill them off the top of your deck, you don't get to choose. So that's the big, what we consider to be the bigger change is you don't get to choose. You send them, but because they raise the life point amount, um, you will be sending less than the anime. Zane would use it to send almost his entire deck to the graveyard in order to dump his monsters there, and from there he could use his Cyberdarks and fusion support cards to very quickly make his fusions. So in ours, you'll be dumping fewer cards, and you'll have no control. So go right off the top of your deck, which I like. I don't mind. We don't mind, actually. We talked about this. So I know that was kind of a bit, but I did want to talk about it because we do change a lot of cards around. And again, Delta and I completely pick and choose based on what we feel is best for our meta. I'm sure there are some people out there doing this that change nothing, and there are probably some people who play like this and they change every card. We do it on a case-by-case basis, and this is an example where we thought that it was well enough as it was. We didn't want to make a change just for something as small as the life points or choosing the cards. It makes it more fair that way if you don't get to actually just toss out whatever you want. So, this is Zane's most comprehensive fusion deck. So, Chimera Attack Fortress Dragon, Chimera Attack Over Dragon, so two incredibly powerful dark machines that have a bit more attack potential than the original Cyber Dragons. Cyberdark Dragon, who, fun fact, there's been a couple versions of Cyberdark Dragon. Actually, if you look at like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia, it kind of lists every time that the Cyberdark Dragon was played with a different effect, even within the same GX anime, versus another card, a couple cards down. Cyberdark Dragon, again, a super key component of the deck. So, of course, coming back with him, because they never ever really left, Cyber End Dragon, although we chose to use the darker art for this deck. Again, he was really the same Cyber End Dragon, but we liked the darker art. We thought it played a little bit nicer into it. Cyber Twin Dragon, leaving his last two monsters, Five-Headed Dragon and Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, both of whom are credited as being in his fusion deck, and he has no way to actually summon both of them. So obviously he has 0 Thunder Dragons. The way we built his deck, he does have 4 dragons, so if he had had one more and polymerization, he could have pulled off Five-Headed Dragon. But what we have really is more that these dragons were there, because if you have a card like Fusion Guard, it sends a fusion monster from its fusion deck to the graveyard to absorb damage. Also, yes, not too long ago, we did post the deck profile for the Big 5 United deck, which did have the 5-God Dragon errata to use the deck masters from the Big 5 to summon it. And I said there, I'll also say it again here, in case anyone has not seen both, is that this 5-Headed Dragon has no errata. In GX, it was played as a fusion, clearly because it was in Zane's strategy to dump the fusion and then take it for later. So this is the first of probably, a few cases down the road where we have one card that has 2 different versions based on which series of the anime it's in. And yes, if the 2 decks did play each other, they would have 2 versions of the same card in the same duel. And we don't care, because we're always pushing to make things somewhat accurate to the anime, as long as we can kind of find a way to make it playable. So even if it seems kind of strange, it was 2 different cards in the anime. One's a fusion more similar to the ritual conditions, also just how it was played in the anime, and one's still just a regular fusion. So again, I know it's confusing. 1 card, 2 different effects, 2 different decks, but it changed in the anime, and we want to adapt. So that is our current version of Zane's deck. So you saw it recently, Duel Again, and as always, it's a fun deck to play. I think it gives a good performance. So hopefully down the road we do get more cards for this deck, although overall we are very happy. It has a really nice variety of cards. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for a lot more content.